Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Pakistan's Election Commission announces final tally of 12th general elections. Pakistan's Imran Khan backed independents lead as vote count concludes. Myanmar's junta declares mandatory military service for all young men and women in the country. Israeli military says Hamas had command tunnel under UN Gaza headquarters. Harjit Singh and Hicks rebuilds Australia innings after Naman Tiwari strikes twice in the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup final at Benoni. Pakistan's Election Commission has announced the final tally of 12 general elections that were held on Thursday. And as per the data, final tally shows independents mostly backed by ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan, 101, and Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League bagged 75 seats. Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League both are claiming to form government. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chairman Gohar Ali Khan on Saturday claimed that the president would invite his party to form the government as they had gotten a majority in the National Assembly. While Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's Pakistan People's Party have agreed to form a coalition government in the centre and the state of Punjab. Pakistan President Arif Alvi said that if electronic voting machines had been used in the general elections on February 8, the election results would not be delayed. He said that Election Commission's new election management system failed and added that the totals of every candidate would have been available and printed within 5 minutes of the closing of the poll if the machines were used. However, Election Commission of Pakistan has issued orders to hold re-elections at various polling places nationwide following the verification of complaints regarding the snatching and damaging of voting materials. And DD India correspondent Amrit Pal Singh joins us for more. Amrit, now how do you see the current scenario now that the final tally is out?
Now that the final tally is out, it's clear that none of the parties have got even the simple majority. But as you just said, that the coalition talks between PMLN and the PPP have been finalized. But even if you put both their numbers together, they do not reach the halfway mark. They will surely need the support of some independents just to get 133, because out of the 266, 265 went to polls. One was countermanded due to the death of a candidate. So they need 133. They would need, I'm sure, they would be looking at independents. There are the independents led by Jahangir Tareen, who broke away from the PTI, and they've got a handful of votes. So I think Nawaz Sharif would be in a comfortable position to at least stake his claim for government formation. On the other hand, what we hear is that Imran Khan is also trying to reach out. The PPP is trying, the PTI is trying to reach out to smaller parties, because according to the Constitution of Pakistan, they can the independents who are basically PTI, but they could not contest on the election symbols, so they are being called independents backed by PTI. Could join a smaller party, and their numbers are far more than the other two parties. The tally, as one understands, is 101 for PTI, 75 for Nawaz Sharif, and 54 for the People's Party. The other smaller parties like the MQM, the Maulana Fazlur Rahman's JUI, etc., are way behind with 17 seats, 8 seats, etc. So, if they join a smaller party, they could throw their hat in the ring. But given the fact that the establishment would be is inclined to support the PDM coalition, it looks like that the chances of the Nawaz-led government being formed are far more. And secondly, also 133 is just the number they need to stake claim. Actually, to form the government, they need the figure of 169. 70 members are nominated. Now, parties get nominations based on their proportional representation in the parliament. Independents do not get it because they are single independents. Unless they join a smaller party, then they can stake claim for proportional representation, and that's where the PDM would, score over the PTI-backed independents, and so the chances are the formation of the government of the PDM is more likely.
Okay.
Siddharth?
Okay, and Amritpal, as we were discussing also earlier, the government which will come in power, whosoever, it will be a big challenge for the government because the economy is in shambles and terrorist attacks are increasing along with some other factors as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Pakistan is going through a poly-crisis, economic crisis, political crisis, security crisis. There are talks with the IMF. Inflation is skyrocketing, 30% inflation. Food prices are touching the sky. They are out of reach for many Pakistanis. There is a power crisis there. There are power outages in even big cities like Lahore and Karachi. So whoever forms the next government will really be wearing a crown of thorns. And secondly, given that it will be a weak government, its relationship with the army would be very fraught. So we know that army is a very powerful institution in the Pakistani politics. So they become even more stronger with a weak civilian government. So whoever forms the next government will have to grapple with this, with a plethora of issues. Siddharth.
All right, we leave it there. Thank you so much, Amritpal, for your analysis. An Israeli army video released on Sunday showed airstrikes on what it said were terrorist targets in Gaza Strip. The Israeli military said the Air Force killed 2 Hamas operatives in Rafah on Saturday. Israel's military has ordered civilians to flee south before previous assaults on Gaza cities. The conflict in Gaza began on October 7 when Hamas fighters stormed border defenses to attack Israeli towns. Israeli forces have discovered a tunnel network hundreds of meters long and running partly under the United Nations Relief and Works Agency's Gaza headquarters. Calling it new evidence of Hamas exploitation of the main relief agency for Palestinians, the military said they found Hamas complex with rows of computer servers that served as an important communication center and intelligence hub for the Islamist terrorist group. It added that the compound appears to have run on electricity drawn from the UN's power supply. Israel thus says the agency is perforated by Hamas and must be replaced. Updates related to Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced 5 senior military appointments on Saturday, filling out a rebooted team after he named Colonel General Alexander Skirsky this week as the new armed forces chief. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said he spent the day meeting his military leadership and government, and that experienced combat commanders of this war would be taking on new duties. Zelensky said he had also approved nominations of 3 brigadier generals as deputies of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has appointed Alexander Pavlyuk as the new commander of Ukraine's ground forces. Pavlyuk was former first deputy defense minister. Zelensky announced 5 other senior military appointments, filling out a rebooted team to bolster Ukraine's defense against Russia. Ukraine is experiencing a shortage of men and equipment as it heads into 2024, having made few battlefield gains throughout the past year. In Ukraine, several regions came under drone threat attack, but country's air defense systems were repelling the Russian air attack on Kyiv. Ukraine's air defense systems destroyed 40 out of 45 Russia-launched drones overnight. Russia also bombarded Kharkiv city of Ukraine, killing 7 people. The attack damaged infrastructure and residential houses. A Ukrainian couple and their 3 small children were killed when a Russian drone attack on the northeastern city of Kharkiv hit an oil depot. An elderly couple living in the same street were also killed in the attack that injured 57 people and razed 15 homes. The Ukrainian Air Force said air defense and mobile groups of drone hunters shot down 23 out of 31 Russian-launched drones. Firefighters and rescuers worked through the night to extinguish fire and clear the debris. Russia's registration of candidates for the March presidential election has closed now, with a list including President Vladimir Putin and 3 politicians who all support Moscow's war in Ukraine. The list did not include the Russian anti-war candidate Boris Nadezhdin after the Central Election Commission barred him on Thursday from running. It said the commission had found flaws in the collection of signatures required for the support for his candidacy. The CEC registered Vladislav Davankov, deputy chair of the Russian Duma and a member of the New People Caucus. Leonid Slutsky, the leader for the Kremlin Loyal Ultra-Nationalist Liberal Democratic Party, and the Communist Party nominee Nikolai Kharitonov. Putin, who has chosen to run as an independent rather than as the candidate of the ruling United Russia Party, and who has been Russia's paramount leader since 2000 and controls all the state's levers, is expected to easily win next month's vote. Former President Donald Trump accused President Joe Biden of lacking the mental capacity to be president following a report that suggested Biden was suffering memory lapses. The mental ability and age of the United States presidential candidates took center stage on the campaign trail on Saturday. The matter was once again brought to the forefront after Special Counsel Robert Hur, a former U.S. attorney during Trump's administration, described Biden as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory who was not able to recall to investigations when his son, Beau Biden, died. Trump, at a rally in Conway, South Carolina, said Hur's report showed Biden is not fit to serve as our commander-in-chief. Meanwhile, Biden denied Hur's allegations about his memory, saying in a White House appearance, "My memory is fine."
He was a vice president, not covered, and he was a senator. But this is yet more proof that we have a weaponized two-tier system of justice in this country. Crooked Joe got off scot-free. Now, I don't know if you call it scot-free. They said he was a mental basket case. Okay, so I wouldn't say it's totally scot-free. In fact, I think maybe if I had my choice, I'd take the other. I'd go through a little process, but that's better than what happened. But they said he was a disaster mentally, and he willfully stole gigantic numbers of classified documents, willful. But because of his condition mentally, is this guy going to make it to the starting gate, seriously?
The second round of the Finnish presidential election is taking place today. Voting is underway to elect 13th president. Former Prime Minister Alexander Stubb from the ruling centre-right National Coalition Party is facing former Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto from the Green League Party. Former Prime Minister Alexander Stubb narrowly won the first round of voting on January 28 with a lead of over 8%. Liberal Pekka Haavisto, a Green League member and former United Nations diplomat, has run for president twice before, in 2012 and in 2018. The results of the second election will be confirmed by February 14. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Aid groups sound alarm over escalating DR Congo violence. UNICEF says at least 700,000 children in Sudan are likely to suffer from the worst form of malnutrition this year. And Mexicans celebrate the Year of the Dragon with Lunar New Year celebration.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
You're watching DD News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Myanmar's junta declared mandatory military service for all young men and women in the country on Saturday. According to an official statement, all men aged 18 to 35 and women aged 18 to 27 must serve for up to 2 years, while specialists like doctors aged up to 45 must serve for 3 years. The service can be extended to a total of 5 years in the ongoing state of emergency. The Southeast Asian nation has been in turmoil since the military seized power from an elected government in a 2021 coup. The decision comes at a time when the Myanmar junta struggles to contain armed rebel forces fighting for greater autonomy in various parts of the country. Amid deteriorating security situation in Myanmar, India on Thursday suspended the free movement regime along the Myanmar border with immediate effect. The free movement regime had allowed citizens from either nation to cross the border and travel up to 16 kilometers into the other's territory without documents like passports or visa. In January this year, India's Home Minister Amit Shah had said that the government will secure the India-Myanmar border with barbed fencing. India's Ministry of External Affairs has advised its citizens in Myanmar, Rakhine, to leave immediately. And DD India correspondent Naval Singh Parmar joins us from Dhaka. Naval Singh, what specific factors led to India's decision to suspend the free movement regime along the Myanmar border? Could you update us on that?
Yes, India and Myanmar having a, to be precise, 1,643 kilometer long international border.
Okay.
Indian side, there are Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram, 4th state who is having an international border with Myanmar. And in recent time, there is increase in number of cases of illegal immigration to India, and that is creating internal security issues. At the same time, it is also creating a change in demographic character of the Indian state of which are having a border with Myanmar. So, considering this factor and internal security of India, it is very much necessary to regulate the illegal immigration or check the illegal immigration from Myanmar side. So for that reason, the suspension of free movement regime is need of hour for India.
Okay, Naval Singh, and how might this move impact cross-border trade, cultural exchanges and other interactions between the two countries?
Yes, as you mentioned that there is a provision that people living from either side of the international border can travel up to 16 kilometers in either side, and there are having a cultural linkage among the peoples who are living either side of the border. But at the same time, this provision of the free movement regime was misused, and due to that, the security concern or internal security is at the stake. So the cultural and the border trade, however, it is a small in amount, quantum, and it can be regulated. It is not the matter to stop the cultural linkages or the border trade. It can be regulated with a proper mechanism like visa or multiple entry visa. There can be a cultural exchange between the community who are living either side of the border. But to maintain cultural linkage, we can't put our internal security at the stake.
Okay. And is there any indication of how long this suspension might last, or are there any conditions under which it could be reinstated?
Actually, Myanmar is having an international border with Bangladesh also, and it is around 270 kilometer long border. Bangladesh and Myanmar are sharing. And that border is porous border. It is not fence or barbed fence. So, and we are aware that the around 10 lakh Rohingyas are living inside Bangladesh or very close to the Myanmar border, who are migrated from the Rakhine province of the Myanmar, and they are living there since last 6-7 years. So there is a in Eastern Theater there is a demographic change or socio-economic condition is not in such a way that we can allow our border to be misused, or it should not be a porous. Because from tie point of India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, the Rohingya camp are very close. So it is very much possible that the Rohingyas or the non-state actor or illegal activity easily can be done through the international border, which is nowadays a porous or open border under the free movement regime. So free movement regime is to strengthen or maintain cultural and trade linkage between the India and Myanmar. But if it is misused, then India, first of all, think about the internal security, and we can regulate the movement, and we can regulate the cultural linkage with the proper multiple entry visa kind of thing, or with regulation. It can be possible. So I don't think this will be again comes into existence. Free trade regime can be must be replaced by the controlled way of immigration either side of the border.
Indeed, internal security is primary, and we leave it there. Thank you so much, Nawal Singh, for joining in and for your analysis. Taiwan's defense ministry has detected 8 Chinese balloons crossing the Taiwan Strait in the last 24 hours. And according to a statement on Sunday, 5 of the balloons flew across Taiwan. This is the second day in a row that a large number of balloons has been reported. Taiwan has raised alarm about the balloons since December last year, calling them a threat to aviation safety and attempt at psychological warfare. The potential for China to use balloons for spying became a global issue last February when the United States shot down what it said was a Chinese surveillance balloon. China said that the balloon was a civilian craft that had accidentally drifted astray. And as China continues its belligerence in South China Sea, the Philippines Coast Guard on Sunday accused its neighbor of dangerous and blocking maneuvers while its vessel patrolled near Scarborough Shoal in the sea this month. The Philippines Coast Guard said its vessel was in the area to protect Filipino fishermen from further harassment in their traditional fishing ground. It said that the Chinese vessels performed dangerous and blocking maneuvers 4 times. However, the Chinese embassy in Manila did not immediately respond to the accusations. Final election rallies for Indonesia's presidential candidates were held on Saturday before the vote on February 14th. Tens of thousands of supporters of presidential contenders packed final rallies in the capital Jakarta and the central Java cities of Solo and Semarang. Candidates will enter a cooling-off period from today to election day on February 14, where 3 contestants are running to succeed. The contenders to lead the world's 3rd largest democracy are former governors Ganjar Pranowo and Anies Baswedan and ex-Special Forces Commander Prabowo Subianto. Defense Minister Prabowo is contesting his 3rd successive election and hold his rally at another stadium in Jakarta. Hungarian President Katalin Novak resigned on Saturday after coming under mounting pressure over her decision to pardon a man convicted for helping to cover up sexual abuse in a children's home. Novak pardoned some 24 people in April 2023, among them the deputy director of the children's home, who helped the institution's former director hide his crimes. This week, Hungarian opposition parties had demanded Novak's resignation over the case, and 1,000 demonstrators rallied at Novak's office calling for her to quit. In a bid to contain the political damage, Prime Minister Viktor Orban submitted a constitutional amendment to Parliament late on Thursday, depriving the president of the right to pardon crimes committed against children. Thousands of people fleeing armed clashes in the east of Democratic Republic of Congo are seeking shelter inside a hospital that is overwhelmed by the number of patients and the displaced. The international medical charity Doctors Without Borders says at least 2,500 people, including children, are staying at the Misevo hospital in the conflict-torn region. DD India's correspondent Chris Ochamringa has more.
Fighting between the M23 rebels and Congolese government forces has intensified in the province of North Kivu since last month. Aid agencies say 150,000 people have been forced to flee their homes. At least 2,500 of them, including children whose parents have been killed, are sheltering in Mweso Hospital. The facility is run by the international medical charity Doctors Without Borders. Authorities there say the hospital is overcrowded with war-wounded patients and people seeking refuge. They are in dire need of food and other basic necessities. The medical charity has urged all parties to the conflict to ensure the safety of patients, medical staff and civilians. The armed conflict in eastern DRC has worsened the humanitarian crisis. On Saturday, protesters in the DRC capital Kinshasa burnt tires near the U.S. embassy and set 2 UN vehicles on fire to denounce the ongoing conflict. They accused the U.S. government and the UN peacekeepers of siding with the M23 rebels who have captured swathes of territory in North Kivu province. The conflict has also raised tensions between the DRC and Rwanda. Both countries accuse each other of supporting rebels seeking to destabilize their governments. Chris Ochamringa in Kinshasa for DD India.
Internet connectivity was shut down in Sudan amid ongoing clashes between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces that have left thousands killed and millions displaced in 10 months of conflict. Near total telecoms blackout has limited communication in the country and prevented the Sudanese people from seeking safe zones and accessing main services. Naba Mohideen has more from Port Sudan in Sudan.
It's been almost a week now since telecommunications became sporadic and then went in a total blackout in Sudan. It started with partial blackout only in conflict zones like Khartoum State, Al Jazeera State in Central Sudan and Darfur states. But now it covers 100% of Sudan territory, and the blackout is total, no phone signals, no internet, and no telecommunications at all. The reason behind this blackout remains conflicted, but some security analysts believe that RSF troops are behind this recent blackout as they sabotage main services and cables in Khartoum after threatened employees and telecommunications companies, the 3 telecommunications companies, to stop the service from Port Sudan and from River Nile State. It's also predicted that RSF is trying to prepare for an attack, and also they ask for a restoration of internet in Niala city and in some parts of Darfur where blackout was for almost 5 months there. The situation is chaotic and messy, and people are suffering because of the blackout. There is stuck travelers, there is stuck patients who cannot gain or obtain any health services. Bank systems are totally not operating right now, and all of the governmental institutions are not operating. So millions of people are suffering because of the recent blackout, and there is no news that the telecommunications will be restored anytime soon. Naba Mohideen reporting for DD India from Port Sudan in Sudan.
And let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. 6 people, including a chief executive of one of Nigeria's largest lenders, were killed in a helicopter crash in Southern California. The National Transportation and Safety Board said cause of crash was torrential weather and absence of flight data recorders. The Directors Guild of America, DGA, held a glitzy award ceremony in Beverly Hills to recognize the top directorial achievements of 2023 ahead of movie world's top honors, the Oscars, in March. Celebrities of iconic big hits of 2023 like Oppenheimer, Barbie, and many more caught the attention at the 76th Annual DGA Awards. Manhattan served an inspiration for design duo Badgley Mishka's fall collection, which debuted at New York Fashion Week. The designers described the collection as neutral with black, dirty metallic, and little sprays of big color. Nearly 50 brands, including Carolina Herrera and Tommy Hilfiger, to showcase their collections during New York Fashion Week. Residents and tourists in Mexico City's Chinatown welcomed the Lunar New Year on Saturday with a colorful parade. Traditional dancing lions and dragons painted the city red for the Year of the Dragon celebrations. Rio de Janeiro witnesses a wave of sheer talent on the second night of Brazil's largest carnival. The parade competition is one of the top attractions of the annual carnival celebrations that sweep the city every year. Wearing shiny costumes, dancers and drummers twirl to the beats of the samba rhythm as spectacular floats delighted thousands of onlookers. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Prime Minister Modi dedicates to the nation and lays the foundation stone of multiple development projects worth rupees 7,300 crores in Jhabua, Madhya Pradesh. 3-day Kalinga Literary Festival is underway in Indian state of Odisha. India's UPI will be launched in Sri Lanka on 12th of February. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Prasar Bharati, and let's have a look at the headlines once again. Pakistan's Election Commission announces final tally of 12th general elections. Pakistan's Imran Khan-backed independence lead as vote count concludes. Myanmar's junta declares mandatory military service for all young men and women in the country. Israeli military says Hamas had command tunnel under UN Gaza headquarters. Harjas Singh and Hicks rebuilds Australia's innings after Naman Tiwari strikes twice in the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup final. The President of India witnessed the changeover of ceremonial Army Guard Battalion at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi today. The ceremony was held at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The 1st Battalion of the 5th Gorkha Rifles of the Indian Army took over the guard from 6th Battalion of the Sikh Regiment. The change of guard was formalized with the former Golden Key exchange between the commanding officers of the respective regiments. The President is the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, where he laid the foundation stone of multiple development projects in Jhabua, worth Rs 7,300 crores. The projects will strengthen the water supply and provisioning of drinking water in Madhya Pradesh. Prime Minister also laid the foundation stone of CM Rise School in Jhabua and dedicated to nation multiple rail projects during the program. This is Prime Minister Modi's first visit to the state this year ahead of the general elections. Among the states, Madhya Pradesh has the highest 6 Lok Sabha seats reserved for tribals. Prime Minister Modi also held a roadshow and greeted people gathered at the venue of public rally. While addressing the conference of tribal communities in Jhabua, Madhya Pradesh, he said that fulfilling the dream of children and youth are among the top priorities.
आपका सम्मान भी और आपका विकास भी ये मोदी की गारंटी है। आपके सपने, आपके बच्चों के सपने, नौजवानों के सपने, ये मोदी का संकल्प है। इसलिए भगवान बिरसा मुंडा की जयंती को जनजातीय गौरव दिवस के तौर पर मनाने का फैसला मोदी सरकार ने किया। टंटिया मामा के बलिदान को याद कर आज बलिदान दिवस मनाया जाता है। उन्हीं के नाम पर आज मैं युवाओं के लिए क्रांति सूर्य टंटिया भील विश्वविद्यालय की घोषणा कर रहा हूं।
Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi President of Sri Lanka and Prime Minister of Mauritius to witness the launch of Unified Payment Interface (UPI) services in Sri Lanka and Mauritius, and also RuPay card services in Mauritius on Monday. India has emerged as a lender and leader in fintech innovation and digital public infrastructure. Prime Minister of India has placed a strong emphasis on sharing development experiences and innovation with partner countries. The launch will enable availability of UPI settlement services for Indian nationals travelling to Sri Lanka and Mauritius, as well as for Mauritian nationals travelling to India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay a two-day visit to the United Arab Emirates, UAE, beginning Thursday. During his visit, the Prime Minister will hold wide-ranging talks with President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and inaugurate the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. Here's a detailed report by DD India's Meghna Dev.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to the UAE from 13th to 14th February. Looking at the frequent high-level exchanges between both the leaders, this will be Prime Minister Modi's 7th visit to the UAE since 2015 and the 3rd in the last 8 months. During the visit, Prime Minister will hold bilateral meetings with President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. PM Modi will also meet Vice President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. At his invitation, PM Modi will participate in the World Government Summit 2024 to be held in Dubai as guest of honor and deliver a special keynote address at the summit. On 13th February, PM Modi will be addressing the Indian community at an event, Ahlan Modi, in Zayed Sports City in Abu Dhabi. The event is going to be the biggest Indian community summit in UAE. On 14th February, PM Modi will inaugurate the Baps Mandir, the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. The highly anticipated Baps Hindu Mandir, a magnificent pink sandstone temple built by Bochasanavasi Akshar Purushottam Swaminarayan Sanstha, boasts intricate carvings and traditional architecture. It will serve as a spiritual sanctuary for the Hindu community in the UAE, estimated to be about 3.5 million. Meghna Dev's report, TD India.
And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay a two-day visit to the United Arab Emirates on Tuesday. And also today is the 200th birth anniversary of Swami Dayanand Saraswati Ji, the Indian philosopher, social leader and founder of the Arya Samaj. In a virtual message, Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembered the late leader, saying the path shown by Saraswati Ji is infusing hope among crores of people in Amritkal.
समाज का एक वर्ग भारतीय संस्कृति और आध्यात्म से लगातार दूर जा रहा था। ऐसे समय में स्वामी दयानंद जी ने वेदों की ओर लौटो इसका आह्वान किया। उन्होंने वेदों पर भाष्य लिखे, तार्किक व्याख्या की। उन्होंने रूढ़ियों पर खुलकर प्रहार किया और ये बताया कि भारतीय दर्शन का वास्तविक स्वरूप क्या है। इसका परिणाम ये हुआ कि समाज में आत्मविश्वास लौटने लगा। लोग वैदिक धर्म को जानने लगे और उसकी जड़ों से जुड़ने लगे।
And Prime Minister also remembered Swami Dayanand's efforts for the women's participation.
महर्षि दयानंद ने अपने दौर में महिलाओं के अधिकारों और उनकी भागीदारी की बात की थी। नई नीतियों के जरिए, ईमानदार कोशिशों के जरिए देश आज अपनी बेटियों को आगे बढ़ा रहा है। कुछ महीने पहले ही देश ने नारी शक्ति वंदन अधिनियम पास करके लोकसभा और विधानसभा में महिला आरक्षण सुनिश्चित किया है। देश के इन प्रयासों से जन जन को जोड़ना, ये आज महर्षि को सच्ची श्रद्धांजलि होगी।
Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi paid homage to BJP ideologue Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay on his death anniversary. In a social media post, Prime Minister highlighted how Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay showed the way to take the country forward by keeping Indian culture and heritage at the centre. The Indian Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar visits India's Gondia, Maharashtra. During his visit, the Vice President awarded gold medals to meritorious students and prominent personalities of the Gondia and Bandara districts of the state. India's Vice President Dhankar laid the foundation stone of Government Medical College and Hospital, Gondia. While addressing the ceremony, the Vice President highlighted Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, how this initiative by Indian government aims to develop the backbone necessary to support the integrated digital health infrastructure of the country.
विश्व की सबसे बड़ा हेल्थ कवच, स्वास्थ्य कवच आयुष्मान भारत के जरिए से है, जो आपके प्रांत में और भी सरल किया जा चुका है. Because of Ayushman Bharat scheme, there will be growth of medical colleges, there will be growth of nursing colleges, there will be growth of paramedical staff institutes, and there will be growth of laboratories also. We will have a number of centers जहाँ पर जांच हो सकती है.
The Vice President of India paid floral tribute and addressed 118th birth anniversary of the late Manohar Bhai Patel and witnessed march past by the students of Sainik School. India's Minister for Home Affairs Amit Shah arrived in Mysuru in wee hours of Sunday. Minister Shah visited Suttur Shri Kshetra and inaugurated a Tirth Yatri guest house. Russian ambassador to India Denis Alipov has called for urgent reforms in the United Nations and its agencies while making a strong case for the inclusion of India as a permanent member of the UN Security Council. In an interview with the news agency, the Russian envoy said that India as a permanent member of the Security Council could make a significant contribution to promoting balance as well as an agenda focused on the interests of the world majority, primarily the countries of the Global South. The Russian envoy addressed that G20 presidency of India was also a clear confirmation of high professionalism in multilateral diplomacy and ability to find consensus amid growing geopolitical tensions. On growing trade ties and economic and bilateral relations with India, the Russian envoy said the trade and economic cooperation between the two countries has reached an unprecedented level. Secretary General of ASEAN, Kao Kim An, will be visiting India from February 11 to 15. And this will be the first official visit by Kao to India since assuming charge in January 2023. During the visit, Secretary General of ASEAN is scheduled to have meetings with the External Affairs Minister and other dignitaries in Delhi. He will also deliver a lecture at Sapru House Lecture in New Delhi and an address at Nalanda University in Rajgir. The Nalanda University leads the ASEAN-India network of universities. Kao will visit Mahabodhi Temple Complex, a UNESCO World Site heritage in Gaya. Engagement with ASEAN is an important pillar of India's Act East policy, which has entered into its 10th year in 2024, as well as its vision for the wider Indo-Pacific. India supports the priorities set by Lao PDR in its ASEAN chairmanship for the year 2024 under the theme ASEAN, Enhancing Connectivity and Resilience. All right, let's take a look at other stories making news. The Sand Viper Brigade of the Indian Army held their annual field firing exercise on Sunday. The exercise aims at enhancing the skills of tank crews, including Agniveers. The exercise will further strengthen combat capabilities and enhance operational preparedness. For the first time, the Constable GD examination for recruitment of constables in the Central Armed Police Forces to be conducted by the Indian Ministry of Home Affairs in over 13 regional languages in addition to Hindi and English. The decision aims to increase the participation of local youth in India's Central Armed Police Forces and promote regional languages. The three-day Kalinga Literary Festival is underway in Indian state of Odisha. The event aimed at preserving and propagating India's literary legacy. The festival unfolds a variety of sessions in which prominent writers, poets and journalists of India engaged in discussions on topics like literature, media and nationalism. India's Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, on Sunday flagged off the much-awaited 57th edition of the Statesman Vintage and Classic Car Rally in the national capital. Nearly 150 vintage cars participated in the rally. Well, still to come on DD India News Hour. Spanish farmers take to streets for fourth day planned Madrid protests. And in football, Nigeria is looking to become a four-time winner of the Africa Cup of Nations, or AFCON, as they play finals against Ivory Coast. Bangladesh jazz band and trail people of Dhaka. We will get you the colorful visuals. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And in Spain, thousands of farmers staged a fourth day of tractor demonstrations on Saturday across Europe. Farmers blocked highways to demand changes in European Union farming policies and measures to combat production cost hikes and severe drought. Spanish police scuffled with a group of farmers and lorry drivers in Madrid as they rallied against the EU's environmental rules and what they see as an excessive taxes and red tape. Since Tuesday, Spanish farmers have joined peers from Germany, France, Italy, Portugal and Belgium in daily protests that include blocking several highways and ports. Well, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, said that she was confident about the economic outlook despite uncertainties because of the global economy has remained resilient. Addressing World Government Summit in Dubai, Georgieva said that IMF would publish a paper on Monday that shows phasing out explicit energy subsidies could save $336 billion in the Middle East, equivalent to the economies of Iraq and Libya combined. In its latest regional economic update published last month, the IMF has revised the GDP growth forecast for the Middle East and North Africa region downwards to 2.9% this year, due in part to short-term oil production cuts. India's Employees Provident Fund Organization has raised the interest rate on Provident Fund deposit. The rates have been increased to 8.25% for 2023-24 compared to 8.15% in the preceding year and 8.10% in 2021-22. The decision in this regard was taken at the board meeting of EPFO on Saturday. The interest rate would be officially notified after approval from the Finance Ministry, following which EPFO would credit the rate of interest into its subscribers' accounts in the later part of the coming financial year. The move is expected to cheer up over 65 million EPFO subscribers. And you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sport. And in the Under-19 World Cup final at Willowmoor Park in Benoni between India and Australia, the match is currently towards the end of first innings. Australia are aiming to put 250 plus runs on the board. They have put over 220 after the end of 46 overs. Harjit Singh scored 55 runs from 64 balls, while skipper Hugh Weebjen smashed 48 after winning the toss and opting to bat first. Late strikes from Soumya Pandey and Mushir Khan brought India back in the contest after Australia were scoring at a rapid pace. Talking about the records, India have won their last 6 meetings against Australia at the Under-19 World Cup, including twice at the finals. And in football, Nigeria is looking to become a 4-time winner of the Africa Cup of Nations, or AFCON. The Nigerian football team secured a ticket to the final against Ivory Coast after defeating South Africa in the semi-final. From Nigeria, our correspondent Ajak Mangut reports on the build-up to the big game.
Excitement is building in Nigeria. Nigeria Super Eagles will face hosts Ivory Coast in the final match of the Africa Cup of Nations later today. The two teams have already met in the group stages of the competition, where Nigeria finished on top, winning 1-0. Nigeria's head coach Jose Peseiro says the only plan for the game is to win. Nigeria is already a 3-time winner of the Africa Cup of Nations, and a triumph in Sunday's encounter will make it the 4th in 10 years. A win for Ivory Coast will make them a 3-time champion of the AFCON. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu was expected to be at the final game to cheer the Super Eagles to victory, but the last-minute change in plan means he will now be represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Football is by far the most popular sport in Nigeria, and a majority of its over 200 million people are expected to be watching the final. The president of the Confederation of Africa Football, in a statement ahead of the AFCON final, said about 2 billion people are watching globally. Special screens are being set up at restaurants and football viewing centers for fans to watch either Nigeria or Ivory Coast take home the AFCON trophy. Ajak Mangut in Abuja, reporting for DD India.
Well, Ivory Coast can complete a remarkable recovery and put a successful seal on an absorbing Africa Cup of Nations if they can beat Nigeria on Sunday and claim the title on home soil. The Ivorians are 1 game away from the continent's top prize despite being on the verge of elimination on several occasions over the last month. They scrapped through the group phase, staging thrilling come-from-behind wins in the last 16 and quarter-final, and are now looking to complete one of the great comebacks in the tournament's storied history. The Ivorians lost to Nigeria in their second group game. Akram Afif scored a hat-trick of penalties as Qatar beat Jordan 3-1 in the Asian Cup final at Lusail Stadium. Yazan Al-Naimat's second-half goal had levelled matters after Afif had dispatched a first-half penalty. However, Afif scored twice more to finish the tournament with 8 goals. The win makes Qatar the 5th team to win back-to-back Asian titles, having also triumphed in 2019. Qatar players delighted their fans with an open-top bus parade showing off the Asian Cup trophy. Soothing melodies infused with Latin jazz, Indian classical, contemporary and bebop jazz styles enthralled audiences during a performance by Bangladesh jazz band Imran Ahmed Trio at the Indian Culture Center in the capital of Bangladesh, Dhaka. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.